Thank you for coming along. I was asked by my colleagues if when you're doing your talk anyone is using their phone, are you going to embarrass them? And it's okay, I'm not, because I need my own phone, just so I can keep an eye on time. That's the only reason I'm checking it, I promise. I hope that's what we all say. So, digital addiction. I should explain my background is in, well, psychology, and I've done work before in what you'd call traditional addiction, so substance use, alcohol, drugs, smoking. I came to Bournemouth a few years ago. I encountered this kind of research project on digital addiction. And to be honest, at the time, I was a little bit sceptical because I remembered working in East End Estate in Glasgow. I remembered working with people who are addicted to crack. And thinking that as being the same as someone addicted to Facebook, I kind of thought, well, it's not quite the same thing. But, you know, I was willing to find out more. I worked part of a group. So we have Dr. Ryan Lee, who's our my main research partner, and various other staff members at Bournemouth. We also have several PhD students, including a man, who's one of our students, doing lots of kind of work around this topic. But it kind of came about this kind of field, this kind of question, probably a couple of years ago. So this is one from 2010, the idea of internet addiction linked to depression. Now, of course, there's lots of questions around causality there. Is it the reliance on the internet that's causing the depression, or is it the depression that's causing the reliance on the internet? But you started getting these kind of headlines looking at this kind of idea of there being some kind of connection there. More recent stories: man drugs girlfriend so he can keep on playing video games. So a chap who sedated his girlfriend because she kept asking him to stop playing video games, which obviously is not a healthy thing to be doing. There's a bit of an interesting aspect to video games though, and that there's such a thing now as esports, and that's when people play these games in a competitive way. So we do it online, increasingly we do it in person, which sounds a bit kind of counterintuitive, but there'll be a stadium where usually two teams will play against each other in some kind of video game, and it's shown on a large screen. And especially in places like China and Korea, this is a massive thing. You get, thousands of people go to these stadiums, you get millions of people watching online. And the very best gamers can actually make money. So it's like sport. The very best ones can make a lot of money from it. And that does slightly complicate matters, because if you can make money from it, if you do it well enough, is it an addiction then? I mean, you wouldn't really call a football player addicted to football for making millions of pounds. Now, of course, I'm condoning drugging people's girlfriends, but it does kind of complicate things a little bit, because it's not quite straightforward as saying it's only going to cause harm. You get more serious headlines too, things like this one: toddler dies of neglect because gamer dad was ignoring him. Now, of course, you can question, well, that would possibly happen anyway. There's probably something deeper going on there than just a person playing video games. But again, you get these kind of headlines that kind of suggest it's a bit of an issue. You get ones like this, a fairly recent one: dolphin calf dies after tourists use it for selfies. It's a bit sad, isn't it, really? So people taking pictures. Not long after this story came out, though, it was challenged, and people say, no, the dolphin didn't die because of that. Instead, the baby dolphin was already dead, and they were just using the corpse for selfies, which is better. I don't think it's better or not.
No, it's not better.
Yeah, both equally sad, isn't it, really?
Yes, we flip it.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. Suggestions, again, you always got to be a bit cautious about anything that's new, because, in research it takes a while to establish anything. But suggestions that things like TextNet, so some kind of chiropractors claiming we're starting to see kids coming in with neck problems who are quite young, which you wouldn't really normally expect, because of their posture, because they're sat looking over things all the time. So again, a fairly new phenomenon, but could be something in it, possibly. It's something that the European Union do take seriously, so they are offering research funding for it, which up until a few months ago I could access. Now a bit harder, but yeah. So if someone's putting up research funding for it, that's usually a good sign that someone somewhere is taking it seriously. So back with research funding going into this now. We've had more recent things, obviously. Pokemon Go. So one from Pilkey there in various places around Bournemouth. And you can say it's a good thing. People are going out, they're exercising, they're walking. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of interest amongst using it for education, so you kind of slightly sneakily use it. You get kids to walk places and learn stuff without telling them that's what's happening. So it has positive benefits. Again, of course, you get negative things, so people don't get very happy if someone's wandering onto their garden playing Pokemon Go, so again, risks to it. Another one, this one that I just found today. I like this one because it has a wonderful quote from the mayor who is against the idea of this person going to prison, and he says something along the lines of, "You can't arrest someone for being an idiot," which is a fair point. But you know, it's becoming a very big controversial area. So personally, I feel there's something in the idea of digital addiction. Although what exactly, I'm not entirely convinced yet myself. Our ideas of addiction though do change over time. So back in the olden days, if the kids were being a bit of a pain, you could buy them some cocaine toothache drops. Instantaneous cure, I'm surprised. So you just give them some coke and that would, you know, solve all the problems. So what we recognise as being addictive can change quite a lot. Things that we can have used now seem harmless, you know, can in the future seem to be quite problematic. There's lots of different names for digital addiction because it is kind of a new thing. So internet addiction disorder. And the reason people tend to move more towards digital because you can be addicted to something or you can be using something a lot which isn't necessarily connected to the internet at that exact point. Problematic internet use, pathological computer use, so again that's a bit tricky because lots of things these days on the internet aren't actually computers. Compulsive internet use, the worst one, eye disorder. Apple do not own the idea of addiction, so I refuse to use eye disorder. We tend to use digital addiction because we think it's the most kind of inclusive one. There's a lot of debate about it. So this is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association. And it's kind of a thing that's used to determine if something is an official mental health problem. Now it is only used in America, and as psychologists we get really annoyed in the UK when people quote it at us. Because it'd be like if you were a lawyer in the UK and someone kept quoting the American Constitution at you. It actually doesn't apply to us. But that being said, it's a very influential document, so it does kind of set the tone as to what is considered to be a genuine condition. This one came out last year. The fourth edition was 15 years previously. There was a lot of debate about whether or not digital addiction should be included. So over 15 years there was arguments and there was research and there was controversy and there was fighting back and forward. And the fifth edition came out and they came to a definitive maybe. It might exist. So we put it in the appendix at the back as something which might be an issue and just completely avoided giving a decision either way. If you were a sceptical person, like me, you might question why we did that. Now of course in the USA, because of the healthcare system, whether or not something is officially a condition is actually quite a big issue. Because if it's officially a condition, it's covered by things like health insurance. Now imagine you're a company and this becomes a genuine, recognised condition. It means that your employee could say to you, well, I am a video game addict, and whilst I'm recovering, you have to understand I need 5 hours a day during work hours to play Halo. And you'll be obligated to respect that. Or we could say to you, I'm an email addict, so you shouldn't be sending me emails and making me reply to emails, because that's just making me worse. Again, it's an official condition. We may have to respect that. So you could question if the reason the DSM kind of avoided the whole issue of making a decision on it was because of those kind of reasons, perhaps. But it's something which is going to have to kind of be decided upon at some point. Because we get things like this. So a chap in Russia is suing Bethesda, a games company, after he got what he claims addicted to a certain game. I think it was Fallout 4, and his wife left him and he lost his job. And so at some point, someone's going to have to kind of make a decision based on court cases like this. I mean, I'm actually surprised it took that long for it to be a court case. I'm surprised someone didn't think earlier than this. I'm going to try suing a company. And the law might seem a bit silly. You know, people did successfully sue tobacco companies, you know, kind of decades ago. People sued them because they said, well, you knew this was addictive and you didn't tell us, and we were successful. And you could argue, video games, Facebook, Twitter, they are designed to be addictive. It's not an accident people tend to become quite reliant on them. They are deliberately designed to be addictive and immersive and to make you want to use them. So although this might seem like a bit of a kind of silly case, it's something which I think is going to become more common. Something we'll probably see in the UK fairly soon. And it links to the idea of corporate social responsibility, so companies being responsible for products that they produce. Now, in alcohol, this is something that's been happening for a while. Can you see the corporate social responsibility in the advert? I'm going to give you a clue. It's down here. This is them being corporate social responsible. This is a much enlarged version of an advert that appeared on a web page, so you can imagine how big that was on the actual website. And you know, these companies get criticised for doing a slightly half-hearted job with these things, but we do attempt to at least engage. We attempt to have things like, you know, drink aware. We fund research into things. So alcohol companies will fund research into alcohol use. Tobacco companies fund research into cancer. Game companies don't really tend to do that. And I was at a conference that had various kind of companies, and I asked this question. I asked the person up on the stage, what's your approach to corporate social responsibility? And she hadn't ever heard the phrase, so I had to explain it to her. And she was quite mystified. She didn't see why a games company should be responsible in any way for the product we're selling, and I was quite surprised. So again, companies, we would expect, are going to have to increasingly recognise this. And there's a thing around kind of responsible design. So this is, I think this is somewhere in China possibly, where there are now mobile phone lanes. So when you're walking along the road, holding your mobile phone, there's a special lane to walk in. And again, when I first saw that, I was slightly appalled. When I thought, actually, the number of times you're walking down the street and someone's in front of you and they're on their phone and they're walking very slowly, but actually there might be something in that idea. You also get things like seatbelt signs will come on. So if you're in a car, you've not put your seatbelt on, you get a little sign. And you could say, well, people know we should wear seatbelts, so why should we have that? But it is useful to have those little reminders. And maybe with games or social media, something similar would be quite useful. There's another news story made the point that selfie accidents have killed more people than sharks this year. So again, perhaps people do need to be protected from themselves a little bit. And again, you know, if you're in Australia, you'll see signs saying there are sharks in the water. If you are in Australia, you probably don't need to be told there are sharks in the water. But you could say society kind of has a responsibility just to remind you of this fact. So it raises kind of lots of questions around how far do we have to go in protecting people from themselves with things like what could be called digital addiction. One of the ways we can try and work out, is there such a thing as digital addiction? One of the things you can ask yourselves if you're trying to work out, are you an addict? Is how many of these things apply to you? So these are kind of traditional addiction criteria. So things like mood modification. So someone takes drugs to feel better and they're modifying their moods. That applies to digital addiction. Have you ever watched a cat video on YouTube when you're feeling a bit depressed to make yourself a bit happier? Salience, so does it become very relevant to you? Is it something that you pay attention to? And again, I think if you look at anyone walking down the street holding a mobile phone, it has their full attention quite a lot of time. Tolerance is a bit more debatable. So tolerance in drug abuse, you need to take more of a drug to get the same effect. And you can say it doesn't, well, maybe it kind of applies to digital technology. You do get bored of things quite quickly, and my students who are kind of 18 years old, they think Facebook's a bit old and embarrassing now, which I find really depressing, but they think it's quite old and embarrassing because they're used to it, they want something else, they want something different. Withdrawal symptoms, so of course in addiction someone has a physiological dependence on something, but they have withdrawal symptoms. Could that apply to online stuff? I mean, if you're ever lost without your phone, do you get nervous, a bit annoyed, a bit freaked out? What I do with my undergrad students, we have a 2-hour lecture on digital addiction, and we have a 10-minute break halfway through, and I challenge them in the 10-minute break not to look at their phones. And by the end of the 10 minutes, some of them are just sitting there vibrating and shaking and looking really upset because they cannot cope with the fact and not being able to look at their phone. So again, something in there. Conflict, does it cause problems? Well, we had the extreme examples of people neglecting their children, things like that. And the relapse, again, kind of a harder one. So someone doesn't use their phone for a while, say you're on holiday, say you're on an airplane, so you try to give up, and then you find yourself unable to, maintain that. That could be an example of relapse. One of the controversies around whether or not it is an addiction, and one of the reasons why it's in the appendix of the DSM, was the argument, well, it can't be an addiction if it's not got a chemical, physiological component to it. Which would be fine, but the problem is, gambling is in the DSM as being a mental health condition. So one of the arguments against that was saying, well, if you have gambling in there, why can't you have internet stuff as well? And also you get overlap between online gambling as well. So what we've been doing, we've been looking at this topic, trying to kind of get to the bottom of what's going on, what's really happening. We kind of done various kind of focus groups and surveys and interviews. One of the things we found really interesting was people really liked the idea of being a digital addict. They thought it was quite good fun. They were quite excited about the idea they were a digital addict. And they'll say this, and they'll say, oh, so do you mean like an addict to tobacco or drugs? And they'll get really offended. Because they like the idea of calling themselves a digital addict, but we don't think it's an addict. It's something else to them. It's not the same as an addiction. And that was really interesting. And kind of to my surprise, I kind of thought people wouldn't really want us interfering in their kind of internet life or using their phone. Actually, most people quite like the idea. People who were relying on Facebook a lot were kind of liking the idea that maybe we should actually kind of cut down a bit. So there seemed to be a kind of recognition amongst most people we spoke to that there was something perhaps they could want to change. And what we've been looking at is having some kind of label would appear, some kind of message. So if you're doing something online that might be causing harm, something that appears, it says to you, should you really be doing this? And from a psychology point of view, that's really exciting, because normally in psychology, you intervene after something's happened, or you intervene in a very kind of erratic way. So if you're trying to get people to stop smoking, you can put up posters, but most of the time when we see a poster, we aren't going to be smoking, or going to be walking past it. It's a very kind of hit and miss approach. With online stuff, you can intervene as the behaviour's happening, and that's a really unusual opportunity for psychologists. It's really exciting being able to actually do that. People had quite complex views around what they wanted things to do. So they wanted the software to inspire their trust. So if you have software that kind of somehow tries to protect you from digital addiction, people wanted that software to be very friendly and very nice and not threatening and not nasty to them. They were concerned it would lead to less natural use. So if there was something going on that was kind of popping up saying, you've been on Facebook for 5 hours now, maybe it's time to stop, people didn't want anything that was going to kind of interrupt their experience. Now, you know, if you all remember dial-up internet, you would spend quite a long time waiting for a page to load. Nowadays, if you're on Wi-Fi and you're trying to get to a website and it's 2 seconds it takes to load, you start to get annoyed, don't you? So you're so used to it appearing instantly. So people are really sensitive to any kind of delay or any kind of interruption that might influence their experience. People say, well, my life's very complex. I do very complex things online. I might be looking at Facebook, but then I might wander off and cook dinner and come back again. And if I've been on Facebook technically for an hour, I've only actually looked at the screen twice in that hour. So people kind of wanted the software not to be too kind of definitive. They didn't want it saying you've been on Facebook this length of time, because I might not have actually been looking at it really. We also wanted to know where the labels came from. Why is it saying, what's it saying? So if they're giving you some kind of warning, what's that based on? We wanted a very clear rationale as to why we were getting some kind of message. So people had quite high expectations kind of right from the start. People also wanted the software to understand where they were at, so it wanted the software to be more firm with them if they were really addicted, if they were really being engulfed by Facebook and Twitter and all these things. We wanted it to understand the type of device they're using, so we wanted it to know that it's different looking at Twitter on your phone on the bus than sat in front of a laptop for 3 hours. We wanted the software to know the difference. We wanted it to understand the time thing, so yeah, just because you're on a website doesn't mean you're actually looking at that website for that entire time. We wanted it to understand social context, so we wanted it to understand that say you are a new parent, say you're at home all day with your baby. We wanted to understand you might be relying more on Facebook at that point, because it's difficult to go and see your friends in person. So we wanted to kind of not be telling you off if you're using Facebook when actually you're in a situation where that's kind of your only release, your only kind of way of contacting friends. And we also wanted it to understand people's personal profile. So we wanted it to know if they have to use social media a lot for their job, for example. So again, really high expectations of what we want the software to do. I mean, really, they want the software to be very intelligent, to be adaptive, to understand human weakness. We wanted it to do a lot of mutually exclusive things as well. So we wanted it to be intelligent and to can run by itself, not require any kind of control, but we wanted to have control. So we wanted the software to do its own thing, but then to be able to know exactly what it's doing. We wanted it to give them advice at the right time in a friendly way, but not to annoy them. So we wanted messages to appear at a time when they wanted to see a message. We wanted it to be completely private, but we wanted it to also understand what they were kind of doing. So we wanted to feel the software was appreciating their behaviour, but not actually monitoring their behaviour, which was a bit challenging. And we wanted it to not be picking on them. We wanted software to understand that what they're doing perhaps might not be unusual for their peer group. And so when we're looking at results, it kind of reminds me a little bit, if you watch Location, and you see people on, they would say, I want a modern house that has an old-fashioned feel, I want no traffic noise, but fantastic transport links. People are kind of making those kind of contradictory kind of statements as to what we want the software to do. So overall, yeah, we wanted the software to really understand people. And to be honest, to me, that's kind of how Skynet starts, and Terminators. Because they kind of want software that is basically artificial intelligence and understands everything and knows what your weaknesses are and knows how to change you in a way that you don't kind of really resist against. So we've had very high expectations, and to be fair, I mean, I'm not a computer engineer by any means, but the kind of things we want are not necessarily impossible. With things like artificial intelligence, you can get really complex systems these days. We looked at gender differences, and basically we found that women tend to be more sensible, which wasn't a surprise to us, and the men tend to be less sensible. So women tended to first of all, tended to agree more that these kind of systems might be useful. They wanted labels based on consequences. So, for example, if you were posting something on Facebook and you were a bit drunk, they wanted maybe something that would say, okay, your employer might see this, or when you apply for a job in a year's time, people might search your social media. I mean, whenever I hire a research assistant these days, first thing I do, I go on Google, I look at their social media, because it's a way of getting information about someone. There's actually companies now, there's a company in the USA that you can pay who will go through your entire social media history and remove anything that might cause you embarrassment. I came from, I think it was a President Bush employee who made some unfortunate comments on Facebook and got fired, and because of that he started this company. Women also tend to want more personalised metaphors, so some kind of visual kind of representation. They wanted messages that were kind of positive and supportive, kind of gave advice. And things that kind of included warnings, so things like, yeah, if you do this it might cause a problem, this might be an issue, or if you're posting something on Twitter that sounds a bit negative, this could be a problem. Men tended to be more interested in messages that came from your friends, so we didn't really trust the kind of software as much. We wanted your friends to decide what was an appropriate message. We kind of wanted more of a peer-based thing. We also looked at the UK versus China. So I mentioned in China things like video gaming can be a massive thing. They have a very different approach to treatments. So it was a really good documentary. It was about internet addiction in China. People get sent to what kind of prison camps, where they are taken away forcibly from the internet. It's a very, to me as a psychologist in the UK, a very kind of brutal, very kind of severe form of treatment, and I would question how effective it is. But there's a very big thing there. And so we're kind of interested in seeing, well, are there differences in attitude towards how you might go around addressing these things. And overall what we found was kind of consistent with what we'd expect. So in China, people were more interested in labels that were about the community, so kind of collective things. So if you do this, you might harm your family, or your friends might be worried about you. People in the UK were much more interested in individual messages. So if you do this thing, you might look bad. Much more about the individual. Which you can see in advertising, or even websites. If you look at a UK version of a website, it's all about about you as an individual. If you buy this thing, you will look better than everyone else. If you look at the same company's website in China, it's much more about if you buy this thing, you will help your family, you will help your friends. So we kind of found what we thought we would see with those ones. There are lots of apps out there already, which will actually promise to help you with your digital addiction. You can download from the App Store, Quality Time, Break Free, Forest, things like that. And we are actually working with Break Free just now, who offer one of these apps. And they have said to us, if anyone would like to have a free version of your premium app, they would be willing to provide it to you. If so, just come and tell me at the end. I know giving your email address to a psychologist in the pub makes it a bit scary. We have the ethical proof, I promise. So if you're interested in free access to this app, please come and talk to me at the end. We can arrange that for you. What we found though, from looking at these apps, is a lot of them were a bit questionable. And I won't read all this out. But we kind of broke down the different things they use. So we kind of broke down, okay, some of them use feedback, some of them use monitoring, so they tell you you've been online for this many hours, you've looked at this many emails. We look at things like situational awareness, so kind of how, feedback, how often you're using something, where you're using it, if you're using your phone in the workplace too much, for example. And overall, it looks fairly comprehensive. So not every app was using every single one of these types of things, but we were kind of between them covering various things. And some of these things, if you look at behaviour change literature, kind of fit. So some of them seem to be kind of based on research and seem to be based on what we would advise, but not all of them. And some of the advice we gave was quite bad in some cases. So, for example, some apps were kind of trying to tell you not to think about it, which in addiction research we don't recommend. So if you tell someone not to smoke, we will think about smoking. If I tell you to not imagine a pink elephant, so wipe from your mind the image of a pink elephant. Whatever you do not think of a pink elephant. You just have to think about it. So these apps, I kind of tell people, well, don't do this, don't think about it actually. From a psychological point of view, I would say are quite harmful. It was interesting, once we kind of did this research and we spoke to people about it, the NHS actually had a website which listed some of these apps as potential sources of help. And after we spoke to them, we actually removed that page because we said to them, well, some of these apps are really not based on much in the way of evidence. Again, I won't read all out, but the kind of things we found, the kind of concerns we had looking at these apps that are available. So they weren't really based on kind of behaviour change principles. They used addiction scoring, so they'll say, okay, you've got a digital addiction score of 5 out of 10, but they wouldn't explain where that came from. And we kind of didn't really get where that number was kind of what being based on. A lot of them are using social comparisons, so they'll say, out of all your friends, you're the worst person this week. And again, from a behaviour change point of view, that's not what we recommend. You don't help someone by telling them they're the worst. That's not going to really prompt behaviour change. Or it'll say things like, you're the best person this week, that's fantastic, which again, you wouldn't really recommend because people will use that as an excuse to go and do the thing that they're addicted to. Because some of them were encouraging what we call flight into health. So that's where if someone is drinking 5 bottles of wine a day and they go down to 4 bottles of wine a day, they tell themselves, I'm cured because I'm only down to 4 bottles of wine a day now. And we found the same kind of thing with this. Some of the apps were giving feedback saying, well, you did less than you did last week, so you're better. And actually the person will still be using quite a lot. So we have lots of concerns around these things and how effective they actually are. We've created our own platform, our own experimental platform. It's not an intervention, but it is kind of a way of monitoring and testing things. And again, if anybody wants to download it, just speak to me at the end. It's had ethical approval, I promise. And basically, if you download our app on your phone, it kind of monitors what you're using. So it can monitor how long you're using apps, how long you're on the internet. It tries to work out kind of where you are and kind of what you're doing. We can use it to send messages. So one of the things we're going to try and do is just like different messages. You know, what do people want to hear? What kind of framing do we want? Do we want text? Do we want something visual? So with their permission, we can install this app. We can send them various messages saying, you know, for example, okay, you've been using social media for quite a long time now. Maybe have a break. And what we can also do is get feedback. So people, when they get a message, can type out a little bit of feedback to us saying, this message is really annoying, why are you saying this, please stop bothering me. Or we can say, maybe, this was quite a useful thing, I hadn't realised I'd been on Facebook this long, this was useful. We can also do audio feedback, so we can record a little message, trying to say if we found what we were doing useful. So really we're trying to kind of work with people to find out what they actually find helpful. Like it's interesting how many people we've kind of tried this with, a lot of them do quite like it. Especially our students, because we seem to be in a constant battle between wanting to go onto Facebook and having to write their essays. And we actually quite like it a little bit sometimes when they get a message saying, you need to stop being on Facebook now. We find it quite useful. But yeah, the idea is that we try to get feedback from that. We've had some interesting media responses. We've Mail Online had a little story about us. The comments were interesting. They were questioning our professionalism, our parentage. They were quite unhappy as. People seemed concerned that, you know, it was a bit kind of nanny state, it was a bit too controlling. We kind of felt that it wasn't really a good idea. We were in, I think there was a German one. We were in, I think there's a Huffington Post. A bit too small for you to actually see. We were in the Telegraph. We got slightly more visual comments. Oh, sorry, that's a HuffPost. And we also in La Stampa in Italy. So I was of interest about it. I think people would quite like the idea of this kind of thing, although it is a really new research area. My colleague Ryan got to go on the Victoria Derbyshire show, very excited. He is actually on holiday here. This is how devoted he is. He was on holiday, but he still appeared via Skype to talk about the idea of digital addiction. We had someone in the studio who was talking about how she struggles sometimes to kind of not be using her phone all the time. So it's a kind of a growing area. It's an interesting one. We are very careful as to the claims we make. We don't say it definitely is an issue. We don't say it's definitely not. We're trying to kind of test the water and see what people think about it and see if we can develop something people find useful, something that will kind of help them to kind of manage their online lives. I think that's me. I know it's quite ironic asking you to do this, but if you do want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me personally, or you can follow our search group. And if anyone does want to have a go at trying any of the apps or wants to, give us feedback on the things we develop, we're always very happy to have participants. And thank you.
Thank you for that. I found that really interesting. If we take sort of about 10 minutes just in case anybody wants to grab another drink or anything like that, and then we'll start again at 10.